Real quick, if you're interested, I am on Letterboxd. My account name is Jackson Krieger. Give me a follow. David Fincher's The Killer is, in many ways, a return to form, as it's kind of a thriller, but it's really a lot of times, in many ways, more of a satire as well. It has one of these shorter IMDb descriptions I've seen ever of after a fateful near miss, an assassin battles his employers and himself on an international manhunt he insists isn't personal. Okay, quick enough, simple enough. We understand it, and it is a very simple plot. I mean, there's not a ton of different details going on. Well, maybe that's not fair to say. I would say just what he's trying to do is very simple. You're never confused what's exactly happening here. I would say, though, this movie didn't really work for me, and some people love this movie. I've seen people that have been raving over it, and I think that's cool. And to some degree, I'm a little confused in what some people loved about this movie so much. To be clear, I'm not saying what, you idiot, you like this movie? No, of course not. If you like a movie, you like a movie. There's plenty of dumb movies I like. It's more so, I was just interested in what experience did that kind of person get, because I was looking around trying to see, people that like the movie, what did they think of it? And it feels like everyone kind of has a different answer. Some people are saying they loved it just due to the satire nature. Some people loved it due to the thriller nature of it and the suspense that it built. For me, though, neither fully worked for me. We'll first talk about it from the beat by beat kind of what I thought of this film. So again, the plot summary, real quick. Michael Fassbender, it's sort of a hit gone wrong, and then because of that, his wife gets beat up, and then he goes to kind of, he goes to kill the people that did that, essentially. That's the movie. Simple enough. But for me, I was often wondering what emotions was I supposed to be feeling, because I didn't care about Michael Fassbender's character. I wasn't rooting for him. I didn't like him or dislike him. It wasn't something that I was really fascinated in. At the end of the day, the kind of, the screenwriting 101, right, is get a character to try and accomplish something and get the audience to care about what they're trying to accomplish. If you can do that, you're going to have a good time at the movie theater. And it seems like it worked for some people. It did not really work for me. I was not really invested with what Michael Fassbender was doing. But there's the other side and kind of the satire aspect of it. And there were some legitimately hilarious moments, especially in that opening kind of 20 minutes, which I thought was the best part of the movie. I was all the way in during that sequence. I thought it was great. And part of it was because I thought that what he was doing was a lot of times hilarious. A lot of things he was doing was really funny, and just I thought there was some actual moments of suspense as well. Someone starts to walk in while he's on the roof. Okay, there's the suspense, right? There were some suspenseful moments in that sequence, and I thought it was really well edited, great editing there. I think the beginning, the actual intro, the opening credits, I think that was just supposed to be satire, right? That wasn't intentional, I think. And that's kind of how I felt with some of this movie. And I don't know if I just didn't get it. I think that's possible. I think it's really possible that I just didn't get it. But again, I'm kind of giving my experience with what I thought of the work of art. And if I didn't get it, then I didn't get it. And, maybe that's on me, maybe that's on the filmmaker. But either way, I was kind of a couple times is that supposed to be funny though? It's funny. It is funny. There's a certain sequence where Michael Fassbender is in a taxi, and I'm like, okay, this feels very corny. Or is it trying to be corny, or is it trying to be serious, and is it just missing the mark? Or do other people not find it corny, and that's just a me thing? I was often confused about that, and I kind of had to keep reminding myself, don't worry about what the movie's trying to do. Just try and enjoy it for whatever it's doing to you, because that's how you should watch a movie. But I still kept being confused about those aspects. The movie clearly had plenty to say. A lot of times it would talk about certain things about the movie. It would say a lot about capitalism, and kind of showing a lot of these different brands, and the Amazon brand and all that stuff, showing a lot of different things like that, using actual brands, not just making up fake brands. Which I was like, okay, this is clearly trying to say something about it, and I kind of came up with some theories in my head. But then I was again looking online, and it feels like if you got 10 people who watched this movie, you have 10 different theories on what it actually represented. which isn't inherently a bad thing. In fact, it's not a bad thing at all, right? There's movies like Eraserhead. You get 10 people to watch that movie, you might have 10 different interpretations of the actual Eraserhead sequence, right? The sequence with the Eraserheads in it. That's kind of the point of that in many ways. But when my interpretation of it wasn't really anything that I came away with that made me feel any type of way, and no one else's interpretation really makes me feel any type of way, it just doesn't do it for me. There were parts of this movie I enjoyed. I don't think that this was a garbage movie by any means. Like I said, I enjoyed the opening sequence, and while sometimes I didn't know if the movie was trying to be satirical in certain moments, I still sort of found myself chuckling throughout. There was a fight sequence that some people, again, have been talking about as amazing. I don't know, not an action movie guy. I wasn't crazy about it. It didn't do a lot for me, but some people love it. So if you are an action movie fan, that's probably for you then. So there's things to like about this movie for sure. And I do think that one thing I love about Fincher is the way he shoots his close-ups. He puts so much effort into the close-ups. He's the kind of guy who, he can shoot some shots of whiskey and have that be as visually interesting as like a shot in Barry Lyndon, right? That's just so fantastic. Fincher, for me, I've never been as crazy about Fincher as some other people are. I feel like I say that, but then I'm also like, he has like 5 movies that I absolutely love, so maybe I am crazy about him. But he's not someone where I'm like, oh god, new Fincher movie, I'm definitely gonna see that for sure in theaters, opening day. Like, Martin Scorsese, I'm like, I gotta see his new movie. He's one of my guys. Fincher, I enjoy the movies that everyone enjoys, but I'm also not like crazy about him, I guess. So maybe take that with my opinion as well. If you are someone who loves everything Fincher touches, then maybe ignore my opinion here. I am not someone who thinks that my opinion is all, and I know more than anybody else. All I'm doing is sharing my experience with the work of art that I saw. And again, I want to talk a little bit more positive. For one, Tilda Swinton, amazing in everything she does. One of the best actors alive. That sequence, fantastic. 10 out of 10. Loved that dinner sequence. That was perfect for me. If the whole movie was that, I would have loved it. Right? I thought that was great. And some of just the ways that he came up with his plans, even if I didn't really know what he was doing half the time until we saw it in action, that was part of the fun of it, is it didn't spell things out for you. And I thought that was really cool. And I think that's probably part of why some people like this as well. But for me, it just kind of felt like quite frankly, it kind of felt like a sort of something like you could see on TV, just with better directed. That's kind of how I, more visually interesting is kind of how I viewed it. So I was kind of disappointed by the story itself. Apparently, this is the idea Fincher had for a while. There's 3 writers credited on this, but apparently, one of the writers from Seven, he had a hand in this. He was someone who helped. I think Fincher went to him and said, "Hey, like this is something we could do." That writer is Andrew Kevin Walker, who was the only writer credited on Seven. So there's a couple more writers credited on this one, interestingly enough. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, it's a 5 out of 10 movie for me. It is. It's a fine movie. I'm not mad at it. But just when I heard, hey, David Fincher, thriller, here we go. Again, some people think there may be more there, and like I said, there is definitely satirical elements to it, and I liked those elements. I just didn't think there was enough of it. I didn't think it happened enough, in my opinion. To compare this movie to a Fincher movie I love, and I would say it's his best, which is Fight Club, I think that, part of why, in my opinion, Fight Club works so well is when you, watch it. For me, at least my experience with Fight Club, when I watched it when I was younger, I sort of didn't get the satire at all. I was like 17. I'm like, oh, wow, this is great. Counterculture, that's cool. And then when you watch it as an adult, it's like, oh, this is hilarious. Like, they're just making fun of these people. That's kind of, to me, what makes that movie work so well is it legitimately works as a satire and as a traditional narrative movie. To me, The Killer almost worked as a satire and didn't work at all as a traditional narrative movie. And yes, I do understand some of the comparisons of, Michael Fassbender's character being this kind of driven, super focused on all the details type of guy, but isn't quite perfect. David Fincher is someone who's, is known for getting 50 shots on every take and stuff like that. I think I said that backwards, 50 takes on every shot. You know what I'm trying to say. He has a history of that kind of thing as well. Maybe, I've heard people theorize, maybe this was, his reaction to Mank and how, that didn't hit. But he had this idea before that, so that's not true. Again, I've heard plenty of interesting theories, but I think they all kind of contradict each other, and I'm just left a little confused, and I would love to know in the comments below if you are watching this video saying, Jackson, what are you talking about? This is what this movie meant, and this is my experience, and this is why I loved it. Well, cool. Put that in the comments below. I'd love to hear that. But yeah, my experience was not my favorite Fincher, but still very interested in seeing what he does next. That's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.